Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at the future of journalism and media, really, in the age of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And to help us with this, we have some really incredible articles by Cindy Royal. She's like this expert in media innovation.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is she's been kind of predicting and following these trends for years now. And some of the stuff she was talking about back in like 2016 is, well,
It's eerie.
it's eerie, yeah.
Yeah.
Like those help wanted signs for reporters and editors she was talking about, remember?
Right.
Nobody's looking for those anymore.
Not so much, no. And I think what's so fascinating about her work is, on the surface it's about journalism, but you start to see these connections. Like, these aren't just trends in how we report the news. This is about how we use information, how technology shapes that process.
Yeah, and it's not just about, robots taking our jobs or whatever, although that's
That's for another day.
another deep dive, yeah. It's really about how these organizations, news organizations, are changing, right? I mean, they have to become like these tech companies.
Absolutely. And if you don't get why that matters, just think about how you live your life. You get your news from an app on your phone. You bank with an app. Your grocery store has an app.
Oh, for sure. Even my library, right? Like everybody has an app these days.
Exactly. They're all fishing in the same pond for your attention, just like media outlets.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is where Royal's work from, like 2017 to 2020. It gets really interesting because she was talking about this digital product mindset way back then, and now it's everywhere, right? And it's
Wow.
not just about knowing how to use Twitter or whatever.
Right.
It's this whole different way of thinking about your audience, what they want, how they interact with your, with your company, your organization.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit,
Yeah.
because that's kind of jargony, right? This digital product mindset. So, like, what does that mean? What does that actually look like if you're, I don't know, running a grocery store
Okay.
versus, like, writing for the New York Times?
Well, it's a shift. Instead of just pushing information out, stocking the shelves, you're thinking about your customer's entire experience. Like, what does their app experience look like? Can you offer personalized recommendations, recipe videos with your products, that kind of thing?
Okay, so with the newspaper then.
So instead of just publishing articles, right, you're designing an experience. You've got interactive data. You have podcasts like this one. You've got personalized news feeds. Maybe you're even using AI to help readers find what they need. It's about making the news relevant and accessible when everyone's scrolling through a million things at once.
Oh, that's a great point. And Royal actually predicted this shift way back in 2017. She was saying that journalism schools were stuck teaching students like how to write a really amazing lead
Right.
when the industry is moving towards like needing people who can code, who can analyze data.
Build an audience.
Yeah, build an audience.
Yeah.
She called it a skills gap. And man, was she ever right.
Light years ahead on that one. Remember Sean Smith, the master's student she talked about, who said his journalism degree was obsolete?
Oh, yeah?
Talk about a wake-up call, right?
Wow. And it's not just journalism, though, is it? I mean, this skills gap, she identified, I feel like it's everywhere now. Like, everybody wants to hire someone who can work with technology, but who can also, like, communicate.
It's the intersection, right? That's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And that's where I think her work gets really interesting. Even if you're not in media, it's about the future of communication, how we share information. That landscape's changing so fast,
Yeah.
and we're all figuring it out as we go.
And this is where Royal starts talking about the future, right? Like, she really pulls out her crystal ball. By 2024, she's, like, all in on AI.
Yeah, and it's not just about like algorithms deciding what we see on Facebook anymore. It's kind of wild. She was talking about that back in 2016, like it was no big deal.
Right.
But by 2024, her thing is AI is going to totally change how we even look for information. Like Google's going to feel like, I don't know, like dial-up or something.
Oh, wow. Okay, so is this where she gets into that, what was it, artificial general intelligence?
Yeah.
The AI that can, like, actually have a conversation with you?
Exactly. And that's how she brings it all back around to that digital product mindset, right? Instead of you having to go to a website or use an app, you've got this AI assistant, and it knows, like, everything, and it can give you the exact answer you need.
So instead of me searching for something.
It already knows what you're looking for.
Okay, but how? Let's say I'm planning a trip.
Okay.
Will it know I want to go to that, like, really specific bookstore in the Cotswolds, even though I've never even, like, Googled it before?
That's the whole idea. Like, we're about to hit this whole new level of how we find information.
Yeah.
And your AI is going to be the key, like having a research assistant who knows, like, everything.
Okay, so that sounds amazing, but also a little creepy. Like, how does it even know me that well? And
Yeah.
what about just, like, I don't know, stumbling on something new, someplace I didn't even know I wanted to go?
Those are the big questions, right? But the thing about Royal is she's honest about the downsides. I mean, back in 2019, she was already saying, hey, this AI stuff could make misinformation and bias even worse.
Oh, right. Because it's learning from us, isn't it?
Exactly. So if the information it's getting is biased or like incomplete, that's what it's going to spit back out.
It's garbage in, garbage out, right.
Exactly.
But here's what gets me in 2024. Where's that information even coming from? If we're not going to websites, are there even websites anymore?
That's what she's saying. Like, if your AI is finding everything for you, what happens to all those websites? To the whole internet, really. It's like, which comes first, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So is it just AI learning from AI and
Yeah.
who's like controlling all that? Is it like Mark Zuckerberg or somebody?
I think, honestly, it's good time to be a little freaked out. But Royal's not saying this is, like, inevitable doom.
Okay.
It's more like she's waving her hands going, hey, everyone, pay attention to this stuff.
Right.
Because it could be really good, but it could also go really sideways. And the way we access information, I mean, that affects everything.
So what do we do? It feels like we've gone from worrying about jobs to needing to rebuild the entire internet.
It's not about starting over. It's about knowing what we're dealing with. Royal's point is things can change so fast. Like, look how quickly that skills gap happened.
All right.
And it's not just about knowing how to code or whatever. It's about being able to, like, think critically, to
Okay.
connect different ideas.
To adapt.
To adapt, exactly.
It's like she's giving us the cheat codes to the future or something.
Totally. But we still have to, like, play the game, you know? We have to make choices about how we use this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So are things looking hopeful then? Like, do we actually stand a chance?
You know, one thing Royal found, which I thought was really interesting, was that, like, young people, they get it.
Really?
Yeah, she was talking to a bunch of journalism students in 2021, and they weren't freaked out about AI at all. They were just like, bring it on, this is cool.
Huh.
They're already learning these new skills, figuring out how to use this stuff. That's pretty hopeful.
Right. Yeah. It's like they don't even see it as something to be afraid of. It's just like part of the world.
And that leads into another really important thing Royal talks about. Like, yeah, you need the skills, right? You got to know how to code and all that.
Right.
But the things AI can't do, like empathy and
Mhm.
creativity, that's what's going to matter even more. Those are the things that make us human, you know?
So it's not just about being like a tech whiz.
Right.
You gotta have that human element too.
It's both. It's like Royal said back in 2020, actually, she said, communication proficiency, like that has to be taught alongside this digital product stuff
Okay.
to give students the skills they need no matter what their job is.
Right.
She saw this coming, you know? Like tech and humanity, they're all mixed up together now.
Yeah. And honestly, it's not even just about being ready for a job, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like being a person in the world these days, you know?
Oh, absolutely. It affects everything. Like, think about the choices you make every day online,
Does.
what you click on, what you share, what you believe, you know? As this AI gets more, I don't know, smarter, I guess,
Yeah.
it's going to be harder and harder to know what's real and what's like made up, what's a fact and what's just, you know, some algorithm messing with you.
It's a little scary. So what can we even do about it?
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, Royal's work, it's like she's showing us how fast things are changing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also, I don't know, there's hope in it too, you know?
Yeah. Like, okay, the world's kind of going crazy, but we've got this. We just need to pay attention. We
Let's
can
just see.
figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, last question then.
Yeah.
What does this all mean if you're like a normal person? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to go learn to code,
Right.
but I also don't want to get left behind.
Well, that's just it, right?
Yeah.
Don't be passive. Don't just let all this stuff wash over you. Next time you're online and you're scrolling, you know, or using Google or whatever,
Yeah.
stop for a second and think about, like, why am I seeing this? Who made this website? What are they trying to do?
We like a little more critical.
Exactly. You've got to be your own filter, right? Because the more aware you are, the better choices you can make. You're not just going to get swept away by whatever the algorithm decides you need to see.
Yeah.
You're in control.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to us.
In the end, yeah. I mean, that's what Royal's work really shows, right? It doesn't matter how fancy technology gets. We're still the ones calling the shots. At least that's the goal.
We get to decide how we use it.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, on that note, that's another deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.